the Wisconsin Music Podcast.
Was there anything that happened at the venues that kind of like became red flags for you as you're learning the process of playing out, that you go, okay, next time I'm going to make sure that if a sense that might be happening, that we're going to make sure that doesn't happen?
Yeah, so I think, well, part of it was we would get there early enough at some of these places to feel out the crowd a little bit and see what they were into. So we would see what they were listening to on the jukebox. We would have some conversations. We don't have, I think, a big enough arsenal yet that we could completely tailor the set towards it, but we have a good enough sense of maybe if the crowd is somewhat rowdy, they're looking for something a little bit more upbeat, how we should start a set to kind of hook people in, versus if we were at a place where people were just real mellow, hanging out, that we could start softer and we could build up and we would still have some interest. Red flags, though, I mean, we definitely learned to stagger sets a lot, I think, more intelligently throughout the process. I think we would start out with too many songs that would maybe just strain your voice or be too intense right away. And it's almost like you're kind of revealing the trick too early. You don't give the audience a chance to build up throughout the set. So that was something that was kind of a big mistake when we started out. I don't know, what else would you say?
Biggest mistake we had was when we locked our keys in the truck. We were just north of Eau Claire, kind of in the middle of nowhere. So we were able to, well, first we left the battery on, so the truck was dead. Then we got it jumped, and then we locked the key in. Then we got the key unlocked. We show up kind of running pretty late, and we're like, oh, there's like this campground next to the bar that we're playing at. So we roll in, and this lady with no teeth shows up. She's like, what are you doing here? You know, she's yelling at us and all that stuff. And so we get to the show, and I think pretty much everybody in the bar hated us the whole time because we were not country music. So it was a good learning experience. So sometimes you're just not going to.
Here to introduce you to the great musicians and music businesses and organizations of Wisconsin. Every week, Wisconsin Music Podcast will be bringing you great information on what's happening in the Wisconsin music world. For our music-loving listeners, we'll bring you music that you haven't even heard of yet from unique and talented artists and hear about their journey so far. You'll either hear live performances of their songs or songs from their selected discography. For our musicians out there wondering what they can do to further their recognition, we'll be calling upon Wisconsin music businesses and organizations to enlighten you on what they're doing to help further your music journey. And now, here's your host, Zach Fell.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Wisconsin Music Podcast. Today we have Ryan and Isiah from Salmon Run. Guys, thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having us on.
Why don't we start with your music origin story? Why don't we start with Isiah first, and then Ryan, why don't you continue on after him?
Yeah, so I didn't really do much music or really anything at all growing up until, and Ryan and I would just kind of jam. It was like a couple of friends, like if, after I had a few drinks, we would jam when we were roommates in college. But then when I moved to Portland, I ended up taking some vocal lessons because I just had some time and bored and lonely. So I started doing that, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, I actually really enjoy this. I like it. I'm getting better. And so I just kept doing that for about 4 years, and I ended up moving back to the Fox Valley where we both grew up, and we just started playing again. And it's all of a sudden we went from kind of doing some covers, and now we're writing, and it just kind of just keeps snowballing. Doesn't really seem like we have a plan, but it's all of a sudden we're kind of doing this thing.
Ryan, what about you?
I've been playing guitar since I was about 12, and I think over the years, kind of like Isiah, just isolated, in my own house, experimenting with things. Never thought it would potentially be a serious road to go down, maybe until later in college when we all started playing together and realizing that we had, I think, some synergies, that we had, good musical chemistry, and didn't realize, I guess, the thrill of writing songs until we really started getting into it and just experimenting. So that's when it really started to catch fire, and we thought, we could actually make a living out of this thing.
So where did the name Salmon Run come from?
It's just kind of got to a point where we needed to just come up with a name. So I just did like a stream of consciousness, and I wrote down 100 names, just as fast as I could. And then We just went through it, and then Ryan's like, I like this one. I don't know, I don't like it. He's like, I like it. And then that was it.
Yeah, I think it was the tricky part was trying to find a name that fit the genre or the kind of music that we were trying to make, which was a struggle because we didn't necessarily have a genre established yet. We've thrown a lot at the board and then seen what people that chose tend to agree with or what their opinion is. I feel like right now it's kind of between, I guess, alt country, folk, and indie. So somewhere in that Bermuda Triangle of genres is maybe where our music lies, but the name Salmon Run seemed to resonate.
Who are the other members of Salmon Run?
Right now it's just us. One was an acoustic duo. The record that we just put out, we just both did the multiple instrumental layers over the top. So Isiah sings, and then I did acoustic guitar, vocals, electric guitar, and bass. Or sorry, not vocals. Acoustic guitar, electric guitar, and bass. Okay. I think that's the only parts we had outside of a door slamming at the end of one song. Yeah. Right.
Is this your first musical group, or did you guys do other things before Salmon Run?
I don't think anything that counts. I mean, I was in a rock band in 7th grade playing Creed covers. I'm not sure, outside of playing birthday parties for our parents, that we were ever legitimate or anything. Okay. I had a buddy in college that we did some open mics around the Madison area together, but again, nothing cohesive or consistent.
We had one band before Salmon Run, but that only lasted about a month.
It was interesting because we were trying to, we wanted to see if maybe the rock band feel was better. So we had a incredible electric guitar player with us and a drummer, and we tried to adapt our songs to that style. So I would step back on bass quite a bit, a little bit less of the acoustic guitar, but in the end, it just didn't seem to mesh. It was kind of a square peg, round hole.
Before COVID hit, did you guys do any gigs before then?
Like 3 or 4, maybe.
Is there any stories from those gigs? Horror stories, like eye-opening for you guys?
I think gigging in general was eye-opening because we kind of assumed we could just bring our guitars in a PA system, throw it up somewhere, and everything would be fine. We had no idea, we were completely rookies when it came to managing feedback, understanding how your sound is going to bounce around a room. So, we played a gig at a brewery where we were right next to all the tanks. And I mean, even with the feedback monitor and everything, the sound was just bouncing everywhere. It was really hard to hear ourselves. So there was a lot of trials and tribulations being able to overcome that and figure out what we needed to get the right sound. And also, neither of us knows much audio wise what gear we're supposed to use. So, I bought an old PA system off of Craigslist and we plugged in and crossed our fingers.
Trial by fire, basically.
Yeah.
Did you do any kind of promotion for those few gigs before COVID hit? And if so, what kind of promotions were you doing? Like, was it social media or was there other things that you did?
Yeah, we've tried to experiment a little bit, but we're on social media. So mostly our Facebook page, a little bit through Instagram, and we tried making some individual flyers too that we'd send out to some of the venues ahead of time that they could post around town. Okay. I think that's about the extent of it.
What was your practice schedule before COVID hit? Were you guys getting together once, twice a week? How were you guys doing that?
Yeah, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I think because we had a lot of ideas on paper for songs, but we really needed to hash through those and understand what worked well as an arrangement. So it hasn't been until recently that we've started performing more as a true acoustic duo with both guitars in the mix. So it used to be I would play guitar, Isiah would do vocals, but yeah, it was a couple of times a week. And just understanding what worked, what didn't, obviously trying to find the right balance of which covers to throw into a set to keep people engaged and interested while you're playing.
Right. Who did you study live gigs? Who did you go and see as kind of seeing what they were doing, going, oh, I like that idea, I don't like that, and kind of, trying to put your whole stage presence together?
Celine Dion, the Canadian singer.
Okay.
Yeah, Celine Dion.
Yeah.
I think, part of it that was a struggle was we would just play a song and then be completely quiet. Realize how much banter there is between songs and how important that is to connecting with your audience. So I guess me personally, so there's certainly some local musicians. I would go out and watch Christopher Gold, Kurt Gunn, and those kinds of guys and see how they would interact with their audience. But on a more national level, watching Wilco, guys like Jeff Tweedy, how they talk between songs, how they kept people engaged.
I think a lot of people that start out, they forget about that. You're not a playlist. You're not going to go one song to the next. You want to interact with your audience. Your audience wants you to interact with them. They want to get to know you. They want to build a positive relationship with the musicians that they go and see, because if you're not going to build a positive relationship with your audience, they're not going to come and see you again, because they can go and play a CD of yours or a playlist, or, you know, go online and listen to it. They don't have to go and see you guys live.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Well, and I think also, I guess, how are you supposed to expect someone to vibe with the song without giving them some context or a proper introduction to what it's about?
Right.
So
Exactly.
that definitely became important, the storytelling aspect of it, which I think you've taken over quite a bit.
We like to joke around too, and we don't like when we had the rock band, it wasn't like you could really joke, because that's kind of half the show. Like, you'll come hear us sing, but we also like to joke in between. It's just kind of a natural thing for us.
Well, that's good. I think a lot of audiences want to be able to have a positive relationship. Like I said, have a positive relationship with the people up on stage. And if they know they can joke around with you, that helps build that relationship. What venues did you guys perform at before COVID hit?
So when we just started out before COVID, it was some small town bars. We would kind of send flyers out to breweries, wineries. And actually, I mean, once COVID hit, especially when it got towards the spring and the summer, you know, there was plenty of opportunity for outdoor gigs where people could physically distance and wear masks and feel comfortable. So the wineries tended to play really well. You know, breweries where we could be on a back patio somewhere. And those, honestly, I think those tend to be our spots, or maybe where our audience would attend more frequently. People that are a little bit more into original music, indie, alternative. We're a little bit more mellow. We're not a bluegrass band up there shaking the room. So it's about atmosphere, and
Right.
things tend to create the best atmosphere.
Speaking of playing, you guys just said you put together an album. Kind of run us from beginning to end of that recording experience. How it started out, what happened in between where it started and where it ended, things that you learned and you were surprised by.
So I feel like, I mean, a lot of the emotional content and feel of the album kind of stems from your experiences. So I guess maybe starting with where you were at when you were writing the songs. And
Yeah, Isiah, why don't you kind of give us the story behind it?
Well, Maes Avenue, that's the name of this house that I remodeled with my family, and it was like a pretty big project to take on for like some side job. So it's like this old nunnery. It's like 3,500 square feet, and we had to gut it all the way down to the bones. It had like 7 21-yard dumpsters just of people's personal items before we even started ripping out the drywall. So it was a real weird place, and there was no electricity there for like 3 years. There's food in the refrigerator, so like squatters living there. There's cat poop all over the place. Knives in in the kids' room. There's like chains hooked up to a wall where like dogs were tied up in the space. It was Wow. So it had like all these real kind of just this weird energy. And I think during that time, I also had like a mad, just so mad and angry. I think a lot of that kind of came through in some of it. And, so I'd kind of feel something and then send it over to Ryan, and he would kind of take it from there because he could do all the instruments and I was just singing. So that's kind of the gist of it.
From what I'm understanding here is that you guys didn't go to a recording studio to do this. You guys did this in-house.
I think the songwriting process was all right. A lot of it was in this old house. It was kind of trying to find the inspiration. When we started recording, though, we went to Rock Garden Studio in Appleton, Mark Goldie, which was really critical for us because, I mean, for one, I can't even imagine the recording we would have put together by ourselves, having no audio engineering comprehension. But I think not only that, but just the space he creates in that studio, it's really unique, and it kind of brings out the best in you. I guess working with him, and he pushes you, so it helped us a lot in being able to put together some concrete songs.
How many songs did you guys finish with on this album?
6,
Yep.
I think. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we were trying to we couldn't figure out the right blend if we should do an album or an EP to start, because obviously this was more about just an introduction and having some content out there people could stream easily to find us. But we kind of landed on just over a half hour, I think, of songs that we felt pretty confident in.
What would be the first song you guys would like to put on the podcast?
So the first one's called The Girl Downstairs. And so Isiah wrote that song. He'd have to help tell the story about it.
It's kind of a parody for rock and roll pop songs, because it's kind of like, I'm living this rock star life kind of. But it's like, well, you can kind of twist anything to make it seem like you're cooler than what you are. But really, it's just about still sleeping with my girlfriend that's sleeping downstairs because I snore and she has to sleep in a different room. So then it was kind of, I don't know, it's kind of celebrating the fun I had with, friends and stuff through the years. So.
coconut. Southern man doesn't need to care. Playing funny in cornstalk. Little girl likes to pull my hair. Broken bones and alcohol. 16 hours in a gummy bear. Look her down to the boardwalk. Jonathan always loved to share. And I'll stay breathing and I'll stay feeding and I'll stay dreaming with the girl black hair. And I'll stay breathing and I'll stay dreaming and I'll stay sleeping with the girl downstairs. Miss Punch the Spectre. Let's got them boys to stare. Lincoln City's crab bar. Started taking off her underwear. And at the theater and parking stalls. Lot of money roll around there. Eating dinner at 5 stars. Lap dance on a basement chair. And I'll stay breathing and I'll stay feeding and I'll stay dreaming with the girl black hair. And I'll stay breathing and I'll stay feeding and I'll stay sleeping with the girl downstairs. Cliffs, river water, take me back to the desert fair. And sharp cliffs, river water, take me back to the desert fair. And sharp cliffs, river water, take me back to the desert fair. And sharp cliffs, river water, take me back to the desert fair. And high heels, high poles, tuck deals and rodeo clothes. Stay breathing, stay feeding, stay dreaming with the girl black hair. And I'll stay breathing, stay dreaming, stay feeding with the girl black hair. And I'll stay breathing, stay dreaming, stay sleeping with the girl downstairs.
What would be the second song you guys would like on the podcast?
The second one's called Crazy. So that was one of the last ones we put together. So Isaiah wrote this one again. I think you were in maybe a deeper emotional state when you were coming up with the lyrics for it, right?
Yeah, it's like frustration through the years. Being kind of a weird guy most of my life, it's like it's hard to be taken seriously, but like sometimes you really need to be taken seriously, but you kind of can't take anything seriously, and then you kind of get, I don't know, I kind of got to a point where it's like I just couldn't get through, couldn't on the same wavelength with people for a really long time, and then like all that frustration, and then it was like a lot of misunderstandings, and it just kind of piled up into that.
Every day I think all day long, what the hell did I do wrong? I can blame myself for being dumb, hide from the people that I let down. I can ask for help, it's plain to see, but I can't seem to let those demons free.
Was there anything that happened at the venues that kind of like became red flags for you as you're learning the process of playing out, that you go, okay, next time I'm going to make sure that if a sense that might be happening, that we're going to make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, part of it was we would get there early enough at some of these places to feel out the crowd a little bit and see what they were into. So we would see what they were listening to on the jukebox. We would have some conversations. We don't have, I think, a big enough arsenal yet that we could completely tailor the set towards it, but we have a good enough sense of maybe if the crowd is somewhat rowdy, they're looking for something a little bit more upbeat, how we should start a set to kind of hook people in. Versus if we were at a place where people were just real mellow, hanging out, that we could start softer and we could build up and we would still have some interest. Red flags, though, I mean, we definitely learned to stagger sets a lot, I think, more intelligently throughout the process. I think we would start out with too many songs that would maybe just strain your voice or be too intense right away. And it's almost like you're kind of revealing the trick too early. You don't give the audience a chance to build up throughout the set. So that was something that was kind of a big mistake when we started out.
Biggest mistake we had was when we locked our keys in the truck. We were just north of Eau Claire, kind of in the middle of nowhere. So we were able to, well, first we left the battery on, so the truck was dead. Then we got it jumped, and then we locked the key in. Then we got the key unlocked. We show up kind of running pretty late, and we're like, oh, there's like this campground next to the bar that we're playing at. So we roll in, and this lady with no teeth shows up. She's like, what are you doing here? You know, she's yelling at us and all that stuff. And so we get to the show, and I think pretty much everybody in the bar hated us the whole time because we were not country. So it was a good learning experience. So sometimes you're just not going to hit the home run.
As you're alluding to a little bit earlier in this part of the conversation, read the room. Let's kind of talk about the local scene attitude. What great things for musicians have you seen happening in your town for musicians?
I think we came onto it at a good time. Well, obviously not with COVID, but a good general time, because Mile of Music up in the Appleton area has been tremendous for local musicians. I think before Mile of Music, the concept of, rock and country cover bands just kind of dominated the scene. Most places you would go, there wasn't a huge demand. Well, I shouldn't say there wasn't a huge demand for original music, but it wasn't as well known, or I guess the network wasn't as strong to help people find it. But once Mile of Music came around, a lot of the venues, I think, started to see how many people kind of would trickle down from different parts of the state that really were craving original music, and they were able to see it as a much more marketable opportunity for themselves as well. So now I think from the onset of that, it's been 8 years since it started. You see tons of venues having local musicians all the time, and it's great to go out and see somebody who, these are songs that are very personal and meaningful to their life. I guess so. That's been a huge positive. Is we've just been able to push our original music at local venues much easier than I think we would have been able to in a different climate. With
playing original music that you guys are doing, are you also implementing covers, or do you have like 3 hours worth of original music?
Yeah, we have some covers. We try to keep it to maybe 4 originals to every 1 cover. Some people, if they're not going to dig your original songs, you got to throw them a bone here and there and keep them interested. So we try to keep it in line with the style of music we're playing. So I think, some of the examples of the covers we play, Ray LaMontagne, we try to arrange it a little bit differently than the original, but Fire and Rain, we do a Bill Withers one. What was the one Bobby McGee? We were working on a Joni Mitchell one, I think The River.
Excellent choices. I know you guys kind of talked about certain music genres dominating your area, but what else do you feel is suffocating your local music scene? Polka, the state music.
At the elementary school over by where I live, they have huge polka scene. That's where all the people are going.
Okay, so basically what's suffocating the local music scene for you guys is polka and non-original music.
We live kind of in a interesting area because it's growing, but it's kind of an older demographic compared to like Madison. And so there's like a group of boomers that have been here that are really digging this original music thing. There's not like this younger scene like you would see in Madison or Milwaukee or some places with like bigger campuses. So there's not that younger scene really pushing it. But it's starting to turn, but I think just the age.
Yeah. So probably within the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see probably a big difference in the audience, because the boomers are getting up there in age now, and they're not going to be going out and seeing live music as much. And it's going to be the younger crowd that wants, especially with COVID happening, who knows how long before live music starts getting back to where it was, and hopefully even better than it was before COVID. But I think a lot of them are going to be going, I'm so sick of being at home. I want to go out, have a good time with my friends, go hear some live music. But original is probably better, because a lot of, I think, the cover songs done are still back from 70 years ago. You know, the 80s, the 70s, and the 60s, a lot of that is still big in the bar scene. And I think your generation is probably going to turning the tide on that, because you guys probably grew up listening to music from the late 90s and early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's, so, I mean, last time I was in Nashville, you go down, was it Broadway? All those bars, I expected it to be all country, but most of the music we were hearing was a lot of 90s covers, 90s pop, rock. So I think it's exactly what you're saying, because that was a younger demographic listening to a lot of the music.
Right.
It does seem to be, the tide is turning a little bit on it, or I should say the page is turning.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the music from the 60s and 70s and 80s and stuff like that, but I think your generation and the generations coming up, they're going to want to hear more original stuff and more of the stuff that they kind of listened to as they were growing up from preteen through their teenage years. Let's talk about the future with the group. Where do you guys see yourselves in the next 3 to 5 years with this? Or where do you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think we've really struggled to answer that question ourselves. You know, obviously we learned a ton with the making of this first album and spending, you know, the last year, I guess, playing gigs around the area, I guess trickling to some of the venues around the state. But we know we want to do this long term, especially just kind of the thrill that you get from putting content together and from playing in front of people and hearing their feedback. But how we're going to do that is something that we're still trying to lay the roadmap out for. We know, I think the next step with our second album is to really drive, or I guess to really allow more production emphasis. I think the problem with the first album, and we're really happy with the songs on it, we tended to just put together a bunch of layers and then try to bring them together, stitch them together, and see how it sounded. Mm-hmm. But now we really want to understand composition and arrangement a lot more finely. So we're hoping to demonstrate that growth in the construction of our second album, and really start fine-tuning our live performance, not only the gear and the setup, but like we talked about earlier, the banter, how we carry on the set, how we engage with fans, so that we're able to go on the road and stitch together small tours that are profitable, frankly.
What's the path you think you're going to take to find venues that are going to be receptive to your music?
Yeah, I think the process so far has been to look at comparable artists in the local scene and see where they're playing. And that's been fairly reliable, but especially once we get out of the area and we don't know as much, it's been trying to understand the demographics a little bit better of who listens to us. So we know, if we know certain types of people go to breweries and wineries, you know, we tend to not be a sports bar type of band. I think it just doesn't fit the scene well at all. So really understanding our demographics and then applying that or using that to look for places in different cities, I think will be helpful. But we're certainly still very new in that area. Yeah,
you definitely have to kind of figure out other artists that are, like you said, in your genre and kind of follow them a little bit, but also create your own path too, because you don't know who's actually out there trying to find what you're doing. As we're getting close to the end of my questions here, one of the questions I ask is about the balance between your work life and your personal life. How do you find the balance between those two for you?
Yeah, I've been taking kind of a little bit different approach because I want to do this. I want to be able to do this full time, and I want to be able to travel and not have to have another job. So I've ended up moving into this home, and it was like pretty much condemned. Another one. And so I've been working on that, and I'm just about done with that. And I'm hoping to use some of that to give me some time where I'm just focusing on music, because I'll have enough saved up with the house being finished.
Okay.
But that's kind of my approach, where I don't have to worry about this balance. I just am doing it.
You spoke of your girlfriend earlier, so she's highly supportive of your quest to become a professional musician?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And Ryan, what about you?
So I think for me, because I have a full-time job in a corporate environment, and you know, separating work and personal life, I think to me the music kind of it is my personal life. I think we both pour our heart and soul into a lot of the songs that we write, and you know, honestly, playing a lot of these gigs is so much more fun than anything else I would have been doing on a Friday, Saturday night, regardless. So it kind of works out the best in that way. But we're trying to do this in a more focused approach moving forward while also having a corporate job. It's definitely been difficult to reconcile because it's not just a standard 40-hour-a-week job. So I don't have any good answers about how I guess blended the two to this point, but I think going forward, just making our approach a lot more efficient and robust. So we know when we're practicing, we have a reliable schedule. We know when we have to hit certain deadlines, and I guess when we have to make certain things happen. Having more structure built around it, I think, will help us so that we can do both things at once.
What local artists are you listening to? I know you guys mentioned a few, but why don't we go back to this and so we can get a good list? What's on your local playlist right now?
So we've been really fortunate to come across and meet some of the local artists at some of these gigs. We played a show up in Rhinelander at the brewery there with Billy Bronstedt and the Loot. So I think they have some incredible music. We listen to them quite a bit. Interject at any time if you have, I guess, any of the ones you're thinking.
There's we played down at the Heist in Ripon where Sam Luna and Tay, he's got an amazing building there. I think it's like an old bank that he's converting into a space. It's something definitely to look into because he's going to be doing some really cool stuff there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't listen to a whole lot of the local music because if I'm like, there's an artist that I'm listening to, I'll listen to them just over and over and over and over. And so right now I'm just listening to somebody and I probably won't, I don't know when I'm going to stop listening. That's the part my girlfriend doesn't support.
Do you think you're going to be doing your own home recording, or do you think you're going to stick with going to an audio professional to do your future albums?
I think we'll definitely stick with audio professionals. For one, we don't know anywhere near enough about, I guess I didn't realize you kind of assume you can just plug in and record. It sounds fine, but mic placement or mic selection in the first place, EQing and all of that business, which is a whole science in and of itself. So I think we'll leave that to professionals going forward. And also at the same time, just when you're recording in your house, you don't really find the same inspiration that you do when you're in a studio in a more well-rounded environment for capturing music.
Bigger than just getting the equipment and the sound capture, just like working with Mark, he's kind of been a mentor because it's just so foreign to us. It's just not what we've done, Right. So he's told us stories, and it's all these experiences that we can kind of, we can pull from this when we get into these situations, which I think is even more valuable than his recording equipment.
True. It hasn't just been, I think, making recommendations here and there of what to put on the song, what to pull out, maybe what's cluttering, I guess, the space too much and removing layers, stripping it apart, doing it more intelligently, but offering us really sound or sage advice for how we should be approaching the live music scene and how we should be connecting with fans. So he's been instrumental in that part as well.
Yeah, it's good to have someone like that on your team. That's the way I kind of think about it, is a recording studio. The people that run it or, do the recording for you and do the mixing and the mastering, they're not just someone that you just hired. They're actually part of your team to make sure you have a successful outcome from beginning to end.
Right.
Well, guys, that's about it. I'd like to thank you guys for being on the Wisconsin Music Podcast. Much appreciated.
All right. Thank you.
Well, that was Ryan and Isiah of Salmon Run. Their new album is Maes Avenue, Maes Avenue, Avenue, and it just came out in 2020. I would like to thank Nate Wyckoff of Frequency Farm Recording in Wisconsin for writing and recording the opening theme song for Wisconsin Music Podcast, and also getting me in contact with Dean Bundy, our voiceover intro guy. Also, Justin at cwhiphop.com for syndicating the podcast every Monday at 4 p.m. at cwhiphop.com. And ZTF Studio, ztfstudio.com for sponsoring the Wisconsin Music Podcast. And we're going to have Salmon Run play us out. Thanks, guys. And everyone have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
I'm going to be called Young Man. So that song I suppose you could say it's more about somebody facing pretty dire circumstances in the events leading up to it. So maybe it's a foregone conclusion that they're not going to survive an event, and it's trying to be in their head and maybe in the head of the people that are doing something to them about, I guess, what both of their perspectives are, and then reconciling them at the end. I don't know what it was, but when Isiah started sending over some drafts of the song, it had a Western feel to it. So when we put it together, we wanted it to feel kind of bounce along, almost like somebody on horseback in the Old West. And we threw some slide guitar in there and maybe some diminished chords and some strange feel, so that it was a little bit more ominous in its tone, really what we were trying to capture with it.
I started writing it when I was living in Portland, so this was like 2016, and like that was kind of like a lot of the Black Lives Matter stuff was going on in 16. So kind of some of the lyrics, it's kind of like recognizes some of the violence that, you know, white people have done, and kind of talks a little bit about that. And it's just kind of like, you know, just kind of how messed up that is, and kind of just tells a story. And kind of also like at the end, it, you know, talks about Nat Turner coming back and resetting the score and kind of making things even, but, you know, like trying to capture like the frustration and anger that's probably felt in those for a lot of people that went through that, you know.
Young man on the wrong side of death tonight. 10 steps till it's gonna be your last. Young man waiting in the sinner's line. Don't know where it starts or it ends. Old man playing ghost in the moonlight. 3 kids asleep at the end. Lights up his torch at the count of 5. He reels some saws with his hand. Oh, Lazarus, oh no, Lazarus. Maybe you were best in the ground. Took form like a beautiful sunrise. Spread west at 10 cents a pound. Oh, Lazarus, oh no, Lazarus. 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 Man's gut sweat running down his face. No tears when the creek runs dry. Stood tall and pulled in it on his life. Doesn't matter when the 30th is night. man steps up from the shadows. All tall, he's been here before. Stacks up his worth in the gallows. Souls fall through cracks on the floor. Oh, Lazarus, oh no, Lazarus. Maybe you're best in the ground. Look for like a beautiful sunrise. Spread west at 10 cents a